Hi, I'm Danielle from New Hampshire. Please like and subscribe. My sister Ivy and I are twins. Dad left before we were even born, so I never knew him. And Mom raised us alone. And she was just something else. When we were babies, Mom forced us to wear helmets every day, except for when we slept. We even wore helmets in the bath when she wasn't washing our hair. Mommy needs you to wear these so you don't bump your heads and die. She also covered the entire house with mats when Ivy and I were learning to crawl. Our house was like one big giant pillow. Worst of all, Mom never allowed us to go outside, except the nearby grocery store sometimes. And she took us to the park once a year on our birthday, but only when it was all empty at night. And we were stuck being homeschooled online. The world is full of kidnappers, disease, and horrible things that can hurt you girls. Neither me or Ivy knew why Mom was so crazy, but I was always causing trouble for Mom. I banged and kicked walls, or I threw and broke things. I hate this house, Mommy. I want to live outside like a panda. Pandas do not get brand new iPads. Yay! I get to play Candy Crush. Ivy never understood that Mom only bought us fancy stuff to distract us, so we wouldn't break out of the house. The only fun thing about being inside was when Mom played music on the radio. My favorite was the rock station. But one time, I turned up the volume so loud that it felt like the house was shaking. Ow, my ears! I'm taking away this radio. You're lucky you didn't make us all deaf. I hated Mom, and I was pretty sure she hated me. One day when I was 8 years old, I woke up to Mom standing on my bed, drilling something into the wall. Mom, what are you doing? I'm putting in alarms that detect people going out your window. That way, no kidnappers can get in, and you and Ivy can never get out. Anyway, look, darling, I bought you a giant Barbie funhouse for you. At that moment, something inside me snapped. I grabbed the Barbie funhouse and threw it hard at the window, smashing the glass. And then I jumped outside. Mom screamed. She leapt outside to catch me, but I was running like a lunatic. When I was sure I was far enough away, I stopped to catch my breath. And then I started doing a happy dance. I was free. Suddenly, I heard noise and stomping in the background. A bunch of guys with drums and guitars came marching down the street, and I was so thrilled. I never thought I'd hear music again. As they came closer, one of the guys called out to me. "Why are you hiding behind that tree, little girl?" "I don't know, because you might kidnap or kill me. Mom told me about people like you." "What are you talking about? This is a music parade. Come, sing with us." Before I knew it, I was marching with the parade and singing songs. It turned out I was a good singer too. But all of a sudden, I saw Mom and Ivy running to me with about 10 cops. Mom took me straight to the doctor to make sure I didn't catch any diseases from being outdoors. For the next 4 years, that was the last time I ever got to be alone. From now on, I'm never letting you or Ivy out of my sight. I'll work at home from now on. You girls will move into my bedroom. Ivy and I couldn't even go to the bathroom without Mom standing outside the door. But one night, when I was 14, I saw Mom asleep and snuck upstairs to the attic. I needed a moment to myself. But when I got there, "Danielle, what are you doing up here?" "What are you doing up here? Are you having a date?" "No duh, we're having a date. I had to climb with a ladder to escape all your mom's crazy alarm systems." Wow, Ivy, I thought you were Mom's good little girl. But don't worry, I'll keep your little secret. But just then, Mom came running upstairs. "What on earth is going on here? Who on earth are you? Get out of my house this instant!" "Mom, stop! You're embarrassing me." "Do you know what embarrasses me? That one of my daughters was on a cozy date with a kidnapper or a robber." I jumped in and said, "He's neither of those things. He's my boyfriend." Mom grabbed a baseball bat in the corner as she swung it towards Ivy's date. He ran down the attic as fast as he could. That's when Mom burst into tears and started to pull her hair and yell like a toddler. "That boy in the house could have kidnapped you both. I've done everything to keep danger out of this house, but I failed. I have to send you girls to a strict boarding school with security cameras in every room." "Good. Send us to boarding school. I'm tired of living with all your crazy rules." "But I don't want to go to boarding school. This is so unfair." But 2 weeks later, Mom sent us away to boarding school. Ivy refused to talk to me there, and I couldn't take the tension between us. Please don't be mad at me. I even tried to keep your secret. I can't help it that Mom's a psycho. Just leave me alone. I grabbed Ivy's arm, but she pulled away. At that moment, Ivy tripped and fell straight to the floor. She started to cry, and tons of teachers came running. I'm sorry, it was a total accident. I think I broke a bone. You sound just like Mom. Just because you fell down doesn't mean you broke a bone. But it turned out Ivy broke her leg, and an ambulance took Ivy to the hospital immediately. I probably should have gone with Ivy to the hospital, but something in the hallway made me forget all about Ivy's accident. There were all these photos of famous musicians. In the center was a musician that looked just like my mom when she was a teenager, and the name under it was also Mom's.
Hey, fancy bumping into you again.
I turned around to see the guy from our attic. Aren't you my sister's boyfriend?
Nah, your sister and I just had that one disastrous date. Why were you staring at that picture?
I think this is my mom. She looks exactly like her and has the same name, Jen Zelda.
No, that's Jen Zelda, a teen rock star, but she stopped making music a long time ago. That psycho lady who tried to hit me with a bat is definitely not her.
It's not funny. You don't know what it's like to live with a crazy mom who hates you and spoils you at the same time.
Why do you think I'm in boarding school? My parents sent me here because they don't want me around.
Wow, I'm glad someone else's parents hate them too. I mean, not glad, you know what I mean. Listen, I need your help. I know it's impossible, but I need to find out if that girl in the photo is my mom. Logan and I spent days researching Jen Zelda, but we couldn't find a picture of her that wasn't old. And no matter what, we couldn't find the reason why she quit her career. And Mom was nowhere on the internet. She was always worried about creeps and kidnappers finding out where she lived.
I don't get it. Just ask your mom about it.
She wouldn't tell me anything. She's crazy. She doesn't even let me listen to music, even though I love singing.
You like singing? Me too.
Before I could answer, I heard a noise behind me. I turned around to see Ivy with crutches. Danielle, where have you been? You never visited me in the hospital. Ivy, I'm so sorry. I meant to visit you, but I found something crazy about Mom. Wait, what's Logan doing here?
I meant to tell you I transferred here, and that your sister and I like each other.
Wait, what? What do you mean, like each other? You never visited me because you were hitting on a guy I dated, Danielle? What? No, that's not it at all. Get off me, Logan. Ivy could barely walk, but she limped away as fast as she could. I went after her to apologize, but her door was locked. And Logan followed me around all week. Come on, I really like you. Ivy will get over it. I wanted Logan to leave me alone, even though he was cute and interesting. But when we both auditioned for the school band and got in, it was impossible to avoid him. I really wished Ivy would talk to me so I could tell her what I discovered about Mom, but she just wouldn't. And it was all I could think about. Could it really be that Mom had just been a completely different person before? And what happened to her? 2 weeks later, the day of our show arrived, and just as I stepped onto stage to perform, I froze in my spot. Mom was in the audience. Suddenly, I couldn't remember any of the lyrics to my song. I stood there completely blank as the band played on. Get on with the song, you freak! Boo! Loser! All of a sudden, all the kids started throwing food at me. I wanted to disappear. But then, I had an idea. Hey! Who wants to hear a former rock star sing? I want to welcome Jen Zelda to the stage. I wanted to see how Mom would react. Jen Zelda isn't here, idiot. Her career ended 30 years ago. Everyone continued booing and throwing things at me. That's when Mom walked on stage and grabbed my microphone. I knew this school wasn't strict enough. Hey, it is Jen Zelda. Mom, is it true? You were a rock star? Never mind that. They let students be in a band. Bands go out at night with gang members and crazy people. Mom, just sing with me. Me and Jen Zelda, everybody. Oh no, I know everything you girls have been up to. I downloaded apps on your phones that let me read your messages. This school is stupid and unsafe, and I came here tonight to take you both home. Mom grabbed my arm and tried to drag me off stage. Kids were laughing like crazy. It'll be fun. I bought a horse for you and Ivy. I'll go bring him. What are we going to do with a horse? Why can't you just act normal for once and just sing with me? Who knew Jenzelda was a psycho? I had never felt more humiliated. Before I knew it, I screamed, "Security!" My yell made my mic screech across the auditorium, and to my shock, security guards came running on stage to take my mom away. She cried and kicked her legs in the air. I need to take them home. I even brought them their own horse. I felt awful seeing the security guards take Mom away, but she was acting crazier than ever. I thought I'd call her the next morning to see how she was, but just then, Ivy came to my room and said the principal wanted to see us. Ivy and I walked into his office to find him sitting with 2 other men.
Girls, you won't be seeing your mother for a while. She's in the hospital.
In the hospital? Is she hurt?
Not that kind of hospital. After what we saw on stage, we did an investigation. Your mother has a condition.
A condition?
It's called schizophrenia. Her brain works a little differently. She worries about things that other people don't worry about.
But she was a singer, wasn't she?
She was an incredible musician. Her condition is why she had to stop. But don't worry, girls. Your mother is in the hospital getting help, and you'll be able to see her soon.
Ivy and I were totally silent walking out of the principal's office. For the first time in my life, Mom's weirdness sort of made sense. I wonder if that's why Dad left Mom. Because of her condition. Dad should have taken care of her and inspired her to sing again. A few weeks later, Ivy and I visited Mom in her treatment center. She was so happy to see us.
I'm so sorry about everything that's happened.
And Danielle, I'm so proud of your talent. Music runs in our blood, honey. In a couple of months, Mom was out of treatment and back home. It took a while for Mom to let go of her crazy rules. She never became completely normal, but she was so much happier. She told Ivy and me all about her life as a rock star. It turned out she and I were more alike than I ever thought. I showed Logan tons of old photos of Mom that I'd never seen before.
Jenzelda really is your mom, and even though she's a little different, she gave you a killer singing voice. You're really going places, Danielle.
Logan and I ended up dating all throughout high school. At the end of my senior year, we got a job at a production company. We had the opportunity that year to perform in a world tour. One day, I came into work with a present I'd bought to surprise Logan.
You bought me a baby bib? Is this your way of telling me I drool?
No, it's my way of telling you I'm pregnant. I know we only finished high school, but I love you, and I want to start a family with you.
What do you mean, you're pregnant? We're going on a world tour. It's even in the contract. Don't get pregnant.
I thought you'd be happy.
Happy that you'd want to throw all our dreams away? Happy that we have to pay thousands of dollars to this company?
Maybe this is a sign we shouldn't go on this tour. Then we can raise our baby without anything holding us back.
I love you, and I don't want anything to hold us back. But I'm not ready to be a dad, Danielle, and I'm not gonna raise this kid with you.
Logan, are you leaving me?
I'm sorry.
My life only consisted of 2 things the next 9 months: pregnancy and debt from all the money I owed the company. I even had to move back in with Mom temporarily. Don't worry about anything, sweetie. You can raise the baby right here. Thanks, Mom. Just as long as you don't make him wear a helmet. Ivy and Mom were right next to me in the hospital when I gave birth to my perfect baby boy, Miles. Suddenly, I heard a voice behind me.
Is it cool if I hold him?
Logan, what are you doing here?
I came to meet the mother of my son and to tell her that I made the biggest mistake of my life leaving her. I know you're not going to forgive me, but I want you to know that I've paid off all the debt to the music studio. I love you, Danielle, and I love our son too. I always will.
So come back here and hold him then. Miles wants to meet his dad.
You can tell him I'm not going anywhere.
I wasn't always rich, powerful, and popular. Once upon a time, my family was broke. When I say broke, I mean really, really broke. I had duct tape on my shoes, and my ripped jeans weren't cool like every other kid's because mine were ripped from only wearing that one pair. Teachers thought I was a bad student because we rarely had power, so I couldn't do my homework. But before I continue my insane story, Remember to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you never miss out on a crazy story like this one. I don't remember exactly when that changed because it was a slow process. I remember waking up almost every night when I was a kid and finding my parents worrying about bills and debts at the table. But one night, I woke up and they were sound asleep. The next morning, they were smiling. I didn't eat cardboard cereal that morning. My mom made a whole feast. Things started changing around our house very quickly. Gone was the old furniture inherited from my great aunt, who was a big smoker, so you can imagine how nasty that furniture was. We had brand new stuff everywhere. I got all new clothes, and expensive ones too. Our pantry was stocked, full of foods I always saw my classmates eating. All the best snacks. I wasn't embarrassed to invite friends over anymore. One day I came home from school, and I got scared because everything was gone and my mom was standing at the door with suitcases. "Did we get evicted?" I asked with a shaky voice while my eyes started getting kinda teary. It wouldn't have been the first time. My mom just laughed and pointed at a really cool car pulling up. The window of the brand new car rolled down and I saw my dad sitting there, looking pretty smug. My mom grabbed my hand and we ran to put our stuff in the car and hopped in. That was the day we moved into the mansion. My parents had bought this incredibly luxurious place and I felt like the main character in a movie. They even put me in a private school. I was scared the first day because I saw all these kids with expensive clothes, bags, and phones, and I was used to being the poor kid in my little public school downtown. To my surprise, I was the richest kid there. Everyone flocked to me and wanted to be my friend. The only awkward moments I had at that school was when they asked me what my parents did for a living. That's when it hit me. I actually didn't know. I just said they owned their own business. I didn't know that would turn out to be true. When I was in high school, my parents became a bit strict. Not the traditional be home by 7:30 sharp way. See, rich kids live for the thrill. What was the most thrilling thing we had access to that wouldn't ruin our lives, possibly forever? The poor neighborhoods. Kids in my grade loved to throw parties in abandoned buildings or under bridges in the poor neighborhoods. To my terrible disadvantage, that was the one thing my parents were strict about.
"Because it's dangerous. There's so many kidnappings there, dear,"
said my mom every time I asked why I wasn't allowed to go there. There was a party coming up soon in an abandoned warehouse in the poor side of town. I don't think my parents thought their parenting method through because the thrill of going there was much bigger for me than for my classmates because they forbid it. I pretended I was going to be working out in our home gym late at night, but when my parents went to sleep on the other side of the mansion, I slid down a drain pipe and slipped into our garage, taking out my least expensive car. Hey, I knew it was dangerous. I didn't want to catch the wrong people's attention. The beautiful sound of cop sirens, ambulances, and fights. I drove through the night and towards the abandoned warehouse that would be our venue that night. When I got there, the music was booming and everyone was having a blast. I grabbed a drink, danced, talked to some friends, and chatted up pretty girls all night. It was awesome. I was grabbing a bottle of water from the coolers when I felt the atmosphere in the room shift. I looked at the entrances and saw they were sort of blocked by these guys I had never seen before. There was one on each door. People around me started getting more and more nervous. If the men had been younger, my classmates would have wanted to fight them, but these guys were actual adults, which made it kinda creepy. Suddenly, the music stopped and flashlights turned on. Really bright ones that blinded us. People started screaming and running to try and find the exits. I ran too, but I felt someone grab me by the back of the shirt. And then my arms were behind my back and I was being pushed into the back of a van. Something blunt hit my head and I was out cold. I woke up on a thin mattress with a rock-hard, crusty pillow. My head was killing me. I stood up and found that I was in something like a jail cell with bars and everything. "Where am I? Somebody help me!" I shouted out, but nobody came. I made as much noise as I could to get anybody's attention, but nothing. Were my parents right about this place being dangerous? Did I get kidnapped? I screamed for hours with no response. I was exhausted when a man showed up and threw some food and a burner phone into my cell.
"Call your parents,"
said the grumpy man before walking out as I stuffed my mouth full of food. My hands were shaking as I dialed in my mom's number, and I could feel my heart beating out of my chest with every ring.
Hello? Who is this?
I heard my mom ask in a shaky voice. Mom, it's me. I half laughed, half cried as I had tears streaming down my face.
Nikki!
Gasped my mom. I told her what happened, and she said she and my dad would do everything in their power to get whoever took me to set me free. The man who was there before came back and motioned for me to give him the phone. He had the phone between his shoulder and cheek as he took the keys from his back pocket and opened the door to my cell. He waved his hand, but I'm sure he looked puzzled.
You're free to go, kid,
he said. I didn't know whether to walk or run, so I ran, of course. I ran down a corridor with only one huge door at the end of it. I pushed through the door and couldn't believe my eyes. It was like a huge hangar. You'd expect a place like that to be sorta quiet because of its size, but it was insanely loud. There were wails and cries all around me. The place was divided into small sections. I ran through them and saw what was in the little cells. They were kids. I saw some of my classmates and kids from other schools, all filthy rich. They weren't hurt or anything, they were just complaining as usual, but multiplied times 100 because they had their phones taken away and some were scared because they had no idea what happened to them. I found one of my friends that I had just been with before we were taken. He was rocking back and forth in his little cell. "What happened to you, man?" I asked him while sitting on the floor next to his cell. He clutched the bars and I saw the fear in his eyes. He asked me how I had gotten free, but I told him I'd explain later and wanted to know what happened to him.
It was horrible. I'm in so much pain.
My friend complained. He said he woke up when I was still unconscious and that they failed to knock him out again, so they kept trying. They had thrown him and a bunch of other kids in here and hadn't given them food or water in hours. I was confused. Why was I alone? And why did I get to call my parents? Why did I get some sort of special treatment? I walked back to my cell and found that the guy who had given me food was still there. "Give me the phone," I said, not afraid anymore, because I had the feeling that nothing was going to happen to me. The guy handed it over like it was nothing. I dialed my mom's number and she picked up with a voice as scared and worried as before. "Mom, why are they treating me better than everyone else here? What's the difference between me and them?" I asked her sternly. There was silence, and then a sigh.
We'll be there in 15,
she said before hanging up the phone. I was pacing around my cell, not because I couldn't go anywhere, but because all the cries for help were annoying me. My parents both walked in, looking very severe.
You're being treated better because…
My mom started, but then she looked at my dad as if expecting him to complete her sentence.
Because you're our son, and we run this whole thing here.
My dad said. I'll be honest, none of that processed in my brain. I sat down on the hard mattress, expecting them to continue.
We needed cash, and your mother had a little incident with some rich daddy's girl, so we kept her for a while and her father paid a ransom,
explained my dad.
We figured if it worked for them, it could work for others too,
said my mom. I was shocked. I mean, how was I supposed to react to knowing that the reason we're so rich is because my parents kidnapped teenagers?
Now that you know, we've been thinking about this for a while, actually.
I was kind of scared of what he would say next.
How about you join the family business?
He asked with raised eyebrows. My mom looked excited at the idea. I gave it some thought. I didn't want to kidnap kids, plus they'd recognize me at parties and stuff. The whole business would crumble if people knew it was my parents collecting ransom for their kids, and we'd go broke paying off lawsuits. Then I had an idea. I have one condition, I said. My parents looked eager to know what it was, and I knew they'd be proud of me when they did. The next day, I was walking down a highway wearing torn clothes and with my hands bound behind my back. It was scorching hot, and the dirt I had smeared all over my face was starting to get annoying. When are they gonna show up? I asked myself. Then I saw the flashing red and blue lights in the distance. A cop car was coming to pick me up. They put me in the back seat carefully and questioned me at the station. I was scared they'd trick me into saying something I wasn't supposed to, but that fear melted away after a few hours in the interrogation room with the detective. My parents picked me up and we acted as if we hadn't seen each other in days, as if they thought I was dead. It was an impressive performance, in my opinion. As soon as we got home, I took a nice long shower and then we went straight into my parents' study to plan the kidnapping I had in mind. You see, kids were too risky. If they recognized me, we were toast. Who would I never run into unless I went out of my way? Rich old men. I had a type of rich old man in mind too. the kind that just got married to his young new wife and hasn't had the chance to change his will because right now he feels like he will live forever. All I needed was a suit and a little conductor's hat. Our target's driver was waiting for him in the car, so all I had to do was pull him out of there and take his place. One of my parents' workers dragged him away. The old man didn't even look at me and went straight to reading the newspaper after he told me where we were going. I could already tell this was gonna be a piece of cake. I pretended I made a wrong turn and told the old man we'd have to go a different route.
Wait, who are you? What happened to Jasper?
The old man asked me, puzzled. He asked me to sub in for him, sir. He was feeling under the weather, I replied calmly. The old man grunted and went back to his newspaper. We have arrived at our destination, sir, I said as I parked the car.
Wait a minute, this isn't…
The old man started saying before being cut off by my mother pulling a sack over his head and pulling him out of the car. My parents and I were walking the man into the building when we heard sirens. In an instant, we all had cops on us. They handcuffed us and threw us into the back of their cars. Mom, Dad, I shouted in fear. They assured me everything would be all right. I knew it would, only for me though. The detective took off my handcuffs.
You did a good job, kid,
he said before we drove to the police station. Later that day, they let me go and I went to visit my parents. I gave them both the same little speech. Mommy, Daddy, I will do everything I can to get you out of here, I cried to them. Remember that I said the fear melted away after I was interrogated? Well, of course it did. You're not afraid when you have nothing to hide. And the detective got every ounce of information out of me. He made me see things in a different light. If my parents were both in prison, all their money would go to me, their only son. All I had to do was cry a little every month when I went to visit them, and then I could go home and live like a king now that I had enough money for 3 millionaires to be satisfied.